I once participated in a team-building trust exercise. I stood on an elevated platform with 6 coworkers beside it. I was instructed to turn my back toward them and fall backwards so they could catch me. Those folks were just normal people, not weightlifters or even licensed body catchers. It was all about trusting that group to catch me before I smacked into the ground. I felt this when I rolled into the operating room at MD Anderson Cancer Center, April 29, 2025. I was there for my second surgery to deal with leukoplakia, the precancerous growth on my tongue. I'm Larry Payne, your host of Tracks for the Journey, a network dedicated. I explore ways spirituality, psychology, and ethics lead to a better life. I'd like to share an update on my journey of how a chronic illness has affected me over the past 3 years. To hit rewind for a moment, painful lesions appeared on my tongue in August 2022. Topical treatments made no difference over the next month. My diet, speech, and even sleep patterns declined with the pain of these lesions. The diagnosis was leukoplakia, a precancerous cell growth that had brought painful sores out of my tongue. Unfortunately, the standard treatment was a partial glossectomy, removing the affected portion of my tongue. After real consideration, my first surgery took place in February 2024, and it was only partially successful. I had breakthrough bleeding 10 days later that sent me to the hospital and cost me days of weakness due to blood loss. In the week that followed, the pain from the lesions continued, a clear sign that only some of those cancerous cells had been removed. In late 2020, my physician's son, Drew, made the recommendation I go to the world-renowned Cancer Center at MD Anderson in Houston. I began work with them in January 2025, leading to the moment I was wheeled into that operating room for a second surgery on my tongue. I knew I could trust the surgeon, Dr. Jeff Myers, as he had a proven track record of a world-class specialist for head and neck surgery, with years of work at the Cancer Center. The team in the operating room obviously knew their stuff as they prepared me, answering with a laugh my question whether they had ever done this before. The anesthesiologist asked whether my mask was comfortable, but I was in dreamland before I could answer. While I snoozed, the team stretched out my tongue so Dr. Myers could work his magic. The doctors examined each section that was cut away to make sure the mutated precancer cells were removed. When all of the diseased area was excised, Dr. Myers used a recently developed synthetic skin graft to cover the wound. My wife Jan and daughter Lauren sat with me in a patient room as I returned to real life, recovering my bearings for an overnight stay to make sure all was well. Their presence meant everything as they took care of my needs and communicated with friends and family. After one night in the hospital and another in the nearby Rotary House, which is a hotel connected, it was time to head home. The pain stayed surprisingly low. Jan compared this surgery with the one last year at the local hospital as modern medicine versus the country doctor of 19th century Wild Wild West. We were very impressed. However, on the third day, the pain hit like a truck. This revealed the inadequate pain management from the surgeon's office, forcing Jan and my physician son Drew to create a multi-medicine plan that would keep the pain at a tolerable level. 5 days after the surgery, the graft came off, which was expected, but it forced the pain level up 3 notches. However, as the pathology report arrived, there was good news. The surgeon had removed all of the, quote, moderate hyperkeratotic dysplasia, end quote, meaning those precancerous cells were gone as far as the microexamination could tell. I lost a good chunk of my tongue, yet that seemed acceptable if the danger of cancer was gone. I felt grateful to learn the tongue muscle remained intact, turned to normal action with training. With careful management of the pain pills by my #1 nurse, Jan, and her carefully prepared soft diet, I improved. In a few weeks, amazingly, the painful sores were gone, leaving my mouth pain-free for the first time in nearly years. I have reflected many times on the fact that out of 8 billion people on this planet, I could find, and afford with insurance, the first-class medical care I have received. Did I deserve some divine favor? Absolutely not. I have been the beneficiary of many random events. For example, conception by a wonderful white couple living in the USA, a personality that pushed me toward opportunities for education and work, financial provision, and so much more in my life. In addition, a network of family and friends have supported me, and even more, the work of the ever-active God was revealed. I believe process relational theology holds some key insights, believing that God connects with every entity to offer an aim while the choices are being made. In every moment, the Spirit lures us in love to make the best available choice. The list where God had worked around me is long. Parents making loving choices across much of dedicated medical researchers and professionals striving for better treatment, faithful prayers collaborating with the Spirit's work, loving emotional companionship for my family, and far more. I am a living example of God's all-encompassing mercy that is new every morning, as the says. I did nothing to earn these mercies. God's essential and foundational nature is love, which extends to all entities in the universe. This non-coercive love doesn't manipulate the cells of my body or my choices of health care. I'm free to follow the influence of the Spirit or not. Consequences are mine. And what the Bible shows is that God is continually learning and working with even my bad choices to draw me towards the best for the next time. In collaboration, we can create a future that moves toward shalom. One way I can collaborate with God's aim and mercy emerged in the first follow-up visits when I met Dr. Carly Barbon, a speech pathologist. She tested my speech patterns, which had been greatly affected by the loss of my tongue tissue. She gave me exercises for my tongue and speech. She made it plain, with a faint echo of how God works, that the future was up to me and how diligently I would do my assignment. I had just been enrolled in tongue school by Dr. Barbon. My most recent follow-up brought real encouragement, with no signs of the leukoplakia. Though my tongue had for several weeks, I felt thrilled to have that confirmation of success from the professionals. Even more, Dr. Bourbon gave me an A grade on my tongue school work. My enunciation had improved quite a bit. She rewarded me with more exercises as an advanced tongue school student. Perhaps you can detect that I'm still working on my enunciation, as some consonants and syllables are very difficult for me to say. This modern world, with advanced medical care and lifestyle comforts, is a product of God's wisdom embodied in human. Science and technology have brought more health benefits to billions than any other time in history. But there is no guarantee for this to continue. Retrogressive, anti-science policies can turn back progress. There is nothing of God's love in ideologies that stop research, penalize practitioners, restrict funding, and even withdraw life-saving programs from millions of needy persons. As one who has benefited personally and in my immediate family from high-quality health care, I must be an advocate for more research and expanded access for all. I hope you'll join me as a part of God's work to bring well-being to many. Thanks for listening to this episode of Larry's Leuko Logbook. I hope you've enjoyed listening and maybe been inspired by what I've experienced and the beliefs that I've shared. All of the episodes can be found on my website, tracksforthejourney.com. Just look for the logbook page and you can follow what happened to me across these many months. Thanks for listening.